United States submarine base at Key West, Florida. A dispatch that quoted President Truman's press secretary, Charles Ross, as saying that President Truman has no knowledge of any secret project by this government that would give substance to the existence of such objects. Ross also said that both the Air Force and the Navy deny that such objects exist.
Hi.
Hi.
Hey, what's up? My name is Noelle, and, am I allowed to say what I am for the party?
Yes, that's not your character. Doesn't have to be a secret.
I found out that out of Dracula and Frankenstein
Just look
as options, because Chelsea's reading comprehension is that of a second grader who's been held back a few times. She put me as a mummy because she thought it meant Brendan Fraser's in The Mummy. But no, I am a culturally insensitive mummy.
And I think you're going to really kill it, man. I only did it because I believe in you. Only because I believe in you. I thought you would be excited.
I am excited.
I stand corrected.
I am excited, but also I am a character actor, and you put me as an Egyptian mummy, so I can't even dress up according to character, and I can't even have an accent.
What if you bring like a fake visa and it's just stamped that you visited Egypt one time, and then you flip it on your head where you're a tourist who comes back, and then you're like, yes, I was in like España for a month. You know what I mean? Like the insufferable Tumblr girl.
What? God.
That could be you.
What if we did? Actually, I'm liking where you're going, but not really that far in the middle. We could do terrible white tourists to Egypt as mummies.
Yes. Like 2 tourists who actually went to Egypt and died in all of their tourist gear.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you're flipping it on its head. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's satirical at that point.
Yeah, we've got to find the human.
You remember in like Aladdin where Genie, I think it's in like the second Aladdin where Genie goes on vacation.
The culturally the knowingly culturally
well, that's the Middle East. That's not Egypt. But you know, like Genie goes and then he comes back and he's wearing like the Hawaiian shirt and he has like the sunscreen
We're gonna be
on
like
his
that.
nose.
We're gonna be like that. Yeah. So
and
it's basically going to be like dad core as a mummy, though.
Yeah, and then I went all the way to Egypt, and all I got was this stupid shirt. Mm-hmm. Easy.
Socks and sandals.
Yeah.
Button-ups, and then just wrapped in bandages.
And then I am Chelsea. I am the Birkenstocks that I will never be able to afford.
Girl, you need to get on DHgate and find some fucking dupes for $30 like a goddamn adult.
DHgate?
Be for real. Are you being for real?
DHgate is a Chinese business-to-business e-commerce marketplace. That's what the Google says.
These are my knockoff Apple headphones that I got from DHgate. Go ahead and look up what the Apple headphones look like, and then come and look at these. These were $20 on DHgate.
Is it ethical to buy from this company?
Yes, girl. We're giving them jobs. Okay, do you see? Look at that.
I'm looking at
it. Wow, mama. DHgate, I feel like I've sent like the DHgate Prada Monolith knockoffs.
They have Prada knockoffs on here?
Yes. You just have to, okay, I'm going to give Chelsea a tip and anyone listening a tip, because you can't search like Prada monoliths on DHgate. No, that's how they get taken down. You go on TikTok and you search up the hashtag DHgate haul or the gate haul. Sometimes they call it the gate so that they don't get flagged. And bitches will straight up have fucking knockoff Louis Vuittons that look immaculate. And they'll even be like, I know that this seller does their dupes correctly because a real Louis Vuitton is made from one piece of leather, so it's one continuous pattern. And you can see on this that it's the same thing, so it's almost unclockable and all this shit. Like, straight up. You can go on there. I think I have it bookmarked on my DHgate right now. The Birkenstock slip-ons.
Mm-hmm.
And the mini platform Uggs.
Interesting.
Branded and everything, mama. And then you go to the reviews and you see the bitches with the pictures, and they're like, not only is this an unclockable knockoff, it came with a fucking Prada box too, or it came with a fucking Birkenstock box too.
Interesting. Okay.
It won't get here for 30 days, but when it gets here, it'll be $30 for a pair of $200 shoes.
Okay.
So, slay. You're going to go look on one of those DHgate hauls on TikTok, because there's girlies who that's their whole job. They find the fucking best sellers on DHgate. They buy everything and then they review them. They tell you if it was worth it, if it wasn't. And then if it was worth it, they'll have link trees in their bios with direct links to the exact one that they fucking bought.
Okay. I will look.
So, get ready to have your life changed, bitch. So, anyway, there you go. There's Noel's capitalism consumer corner.
I know I feel like it's wrong to buy from.
To what? Give people jobs and rip off the
I like ripping
billion-dollar corporations who aren't getting your money.
Corporations. I feel like it's unethical fast fashion, I think, is like the issue. But you know what I mean? It's do two wrongs make a right? Sometimes yes. So
I would rather buy the unclockable knockoff from the girl in China whose job is to make knockoffs of designer shit.
Okay, well, she's not getting the money. The balloons that they're sending here are getting the money.
She's getting a cut. So that's all I have to say about that.
All right. Well, thank you for the education.
You're welcome. Speaking of an education, we're about to go, honestly, I would say only playing second fiddle to Antarctica and Flat Earth. Are we about to dive into the roots, the aluminum that is the tinfoil?
I've been asked about this in real life, outside a podcast, from friends wanting to know what the fuck has been going on.
Yeah, same. And I will say, it was kind of like, for me, it was like waking up on Christmas Day and opening a present and it was just coal. That's how it felt, going through the emotional roller coaster.
It almost feels like I want a pair of real Birkenstocks and somebody's telling me to just get fakes.
No, because the fakes look and feel just as good. That is the worst. That is the worst analogy. It would be. But like,
you know what? My heart knows.
No.
My heart knows.
It would be like if you paid full price for a pair of Birkenstocks, and when they showed up, they were knockoffs that had a dog shit inside of them. That's what it would be like.
That actually, I'll accept that. I'm not here to argue, man. I'm here to learn and
get ready to learn
things as they are.
Okay, so let's get into it then. Question: what do UFOs, train derailments, cover-ups, and pedophiles have to do with each other?
Dan Brown's Illuminati.
Absolutely. And I would also say the beginning of the month of February in 2023. And I would also say apparently everything.
Yeah, dude, we've been just... Speaking of Christmas, it almost felt like Conspiracy Christmas, but it was Uncanny Valley. Like, everything just seemed quite wrong.
And that's the summary of it, right? Like, I think everyone who enjoys conspiracy, just like we do, was eating it the fuck up, right? Eating it the fuck up, just like yum, licking my fingers. But then, like, the moment you got to like the last pinky, like sucking the Cheeto dust off, that is the UFO sightings, you were like, wait a second, is this Cheeto dust or is this kerosene? Asbestos, whatever you want it to be. And I'm like, that's the point that I got to, and then that's the point that I feel like you probably got to based off of materials that I was sending to you.
Noel sent me 24 TikToks in a row and then texted me and was just like, watch them, And I was like crying, trying to
Well,
get through them all.
I knew at that point, like we would be like unrelatable. Like we wouldn't be able to relate to each other unless you fucking got on the level.
There was one cute one. You sent like a cute one in the middle to break it up. But I don't remember what it was. It's like lost in the PTSD of the whole fucking TikToks.
You'll never know. So like I was saying, much like the majority of you listening, I was losing my fucking mind about all of the UFO sightings. I genuinely couldn't believe it. All of the countries coming together, because like imagine if I know that so much has happened, but like let's rewind. We had shot down like a Chinese spy balloon, and then 5 days later we were like kikiing with China because they were like, "Oh my god, you guys, we just saw a UFO too," and we were like, "What?
Yeah.
Send us your pics." Like we went from like borderline World War III because of the fucking spy balloon to like, you guys saw a cylindrical object with no propulsion system too? Come over with the popcorn and let's talk about it.
It was all fucking smokescreen.
And yeah, and like that's the thing, right? Is like if you get too wrapped up in the excitement, like I think we all were, you're like, oh my god, this is so fun. And then you're like, wait a second. Why are we FaceTiming China right now? Like on the bed, stomach down, kicking our feet back and forth, being like, what did you guys see in the sky?
I had a slightly different reaction, but I didn't clock it for what it probably was at the time. But the Chinese balloon happened. I was like, oh shit. And then all of a sudden all these other UFOs happened that we started blowing out of the sky. And I was like, I don't think that these are UFOs. I think that these are US owned things, or we're just fucking lying and just making up stuff that we're blowing out of the sky. But I'm like, this is almost like Cold War tactics to show what we can do. This is our moon landing. Yeah, we'll blast it out of the fucking sky. We don't care what altitude it's at, how fast it's going, how fast we're going. We're gonna fucking get it. So try your balloon again, because here's 20 more that were more impressive than your fucking balloon, and look at where they ended up also. Like, that's what I interpreted it as, but I don't think that was the case, because like you said, we started fucking chilling with China, man.
Yeah, we started kikiing with every country that was reporting seeing UFOs, and we were making it a big and obvious and outspoken distinction between the balloon and the UFOs.
It's too much.
So it is too much. And also, like, let's think about this. You're telling me UFOs came here in broad daylight and we just shot them down. Okay? People watched and filmed as we shot them out of the sky. We didn't try to collect them to study. We didn't try to preserve them. Like, and especially, as I mentioned before, people were mystified by their lack of a propulsion system. So they were doing the classic UFO thing where they just beep bop and blip around. Something not a single person on Earth has been able to figure out, right? Like even the balloon had a propulsion system on it.
Yeah.
And we just blew it up. Our chance to progress as humanity, or to put it in an easy to understand capitalist terms, our chance to exploit new technology, we just blew it up and everyone clapped.
No. That was our technology and we blew it up ourselves.
I mean,
to run up press releases. If there was an actual UFO, we never would have fucking heard about it.
That's the tea.
It would have been at most it would have been Area 51. At least it would have been them allowing a local crackhead to give it
to get on. Yeah. And I think Henry Zabrowski mentioned this in last podcast on the Left's Side Stories episode when they briefly talked about it. He was like, they couldn't even do like the old school UFO shit where they'd bring out like a tattered weather balloon and be like, this is what it was. Yeah. Like they didn't even dare to do the dog and pony show.
Yeah.
Like, no, yeah, not even a charred piece of anything. Just nothing. But isn't this just so convenient?
Very convenient.
Isn't this just so convenient that when this happened, at the same time, a train owned by Norfolk Southern derailed and put toxic chemicals like vinyl chloride, butane acrylide, ethanol glycolide, isobutane, and ethyloxylate acrylate into the air, water, and dirt in now what has been claimed to be a 100% preventable situation.
There it is.
Isn't it convenient?
Normally, I like to do two things when something happens. I like to look at Congress. I like to look at the fucking flight pass. But they got me with the trains. I didn't expect that would come from a train, dude.
Well, the thing is, too, even with the flight paths, all of our big, scary vessels, like we have, they call it the like flying war room. I forget what the actual plane's name is, but it's one of the most, I think it's only second most expensive because I think the first one is that Lockheed jet that doesn't even run. But it's like one of the most expensive planes that the US owns because it's nuclear bomb proof. So it can go up in the air after a nuke is dropped and be a flying, floating war room. Mm-hmm. And we saw that bitch go up this week because flight paths are completely public knowledge. So if you have the time and the energy, you can see what everyone's up to. Shout out Elon's jet, which was a teenager showing where Elon was going and all of the wasting of fuel he was using to take a private jet for a 30-minute drive.
I didn't know about the big airplane. That's fucking scary.
Yeah, it is scary. And like a lot of our other ones, like our other fighters were going up too that people haven't seen unless in times of war. So everyone was a little hesitant about that. But I'm not even really like, I think obviously the purpose was people drawing the conclusions like the UFOs and then like our military secret planes going up in the air being connected. We'll get to it when we get to it, but it's definitely not what we think or thought.
Yeah.
So the train. And it pains me to say this, but an entire city was evacuated, animals were dropping dead, acid rain was falling, and man-made horrors beyond our comprehension were happening and will continue to happen to the people in East Palestine and now around East Palestine. But the news was too busy covering UFOs. And that's the part that hurts me to say.
Yeah.
The entire time, as I mentioned before, jacking ourselves off on how we came together as a human race to take down UFOs.
Which was our own technology that we were blowing up ourselves, in my opinion, not UFOs.
I mean, we'll get there when we get there. But does anyone really understand the severity of that, evacuating an entire city?
We don't evacuate for shit, dude. We are in the middle of Snowmageddon and people are still expected to drive into work.
Yeah. This was a full city evacuation, mandatory, military enforced.
Yeah, my mountain was on fire and I wasn't even evacuated this summer. They're like, ow, just fill up your bathtub. It was like, okay.
Yeah, fill up your bathtub and what? Throw cans of water? Like, what?
It'd be like the Minority Report. You just have to hide in it and wait for someone to come get you. But that's like imminent actual danger. Our lake is drying up and it threatens to kill us all. Everyone in Utah, and yet nobody gives a shit.
No.
And that is an imminent danger. Like, they were in a level past imminent danger that we comprehend every day, living in the crisis of climate. And no one heard about it.
Yeah, no one heard about it. That was until I do think that the press was not prepared for the grassroots style reporting people were doing. I mean, I will say that a plane full of environmental engineers and environmental advocates did go down on its way to East Palestine to do independent research and testing, because a story that got picked up from local news in Ohio and went viral was a group of They were claiming to be independent environmental testers were going door to door because they only evacuated them for like fucking 24 hours, 48 hours, something like that. And then they were like, everything's fine, you guys. You can actually go back, dig in the dirt, drink the water. You're totally fine.
Lies.
Meanwhile, like people were coming home to just dead livestock and fucking the paint peeling off of their fucking cars and shit. They were like, don't worry about the smell. Everything's fine. Drink the water. And then these claiming to be independent environmental researchers, testing science group, whatever they were calling themselves, were like, yeah, we're independent. We just want to come over here and like test your water, you know, just give you peace of mind, just, you know. And this one lady, they handed her like a packet of forms to sign, and all of it was like giving us permission to come on your property, giving us permission to collect specimens, right? And then hidden in the chunk of it. Hidden in the chunk of all of these papers that seemed so innocent was the clause that said, like, and by signing here, you are also agreeing to forfeit, like, any class action lawsuit that you might have against Norfolk Southern, or despite any findings that you may have, to all basically sign away. And she was like, "What's this?" And then she was like, "I'm taking this. I'm not signing this. I'm taking this." They were like, "No." And she was like, "Give me a copy." And they were like, "No." And so she took a picture of it. And
Fucking
that's what
queen.
she had.
She's gonna get suicided for sure.
Dude, straight up. And then she contacted her local news and even her local like governor, and he was like, wait a minute. And they went to Norfolk Southern and was like, what the fuck is this? And then conveniently, and even the reporter, I will shout out him, when he was like doing this segment, he was like, and then they tried to tell us that they gave her the wrong paperwork and it was an accident and she shouldn't have, and it's like, oh, you think we're so fucking dumb, don't you? You think we're so fucking dumb. But all of that is happening, right? All of that is happening. The train derailment did happen. It is probably fucking horrifically dangerous for the people in East Palestine. Honestly, actually, the entirety of Ohio and everywhere the wind touches near that area. It's probably going to be like fucking US Chernobyl, where like a generation from now we'll see the effects. Maybe these people won't live to see average life expectancies.
Yeah, dude, they're gonna make an Aaron Brockovich part 2 about this shit.
Straight up.
100%.
That's for sure what's happening. Right?
Yeah.
But do you want to know what else happened at this same exact time?
Not gonna read ahead, so I'm gonna make a genuine guess. I would just guess Congress did something, but I know that's wrong. They probably did, actually. We just haven't discovered it yet.
I mean, in a roundabout way, maybe. How would you feel if I told you that at the exact time that this was happening, newly unsealed documents stating that between 2003 and 2013, JP Morgan made approximately 20 transactions in which payments were made to women who were trafficked and abused by Jeffrey Epstein?
Oh, we're sweeping this shit under the rug as well.
Oh, you're going to love to see where this gets connected. The documents also allege that JP Morgan not only knew about the crimes Epstein was committing, but JP Morgan's security division noted newspaper articles from Epstein's Florida felony charges, which, just as a refresher, Epstein agreed to plead guilty in Florida state court to 2 felony child prostitution charges, served 18 months in prison, and was a registered sex offender. The plea deal was later described as a sweetheart deal. Why, you might ask?
Like, why was it a sweetheart deal, or why did he get all this shit
Why
done?
was it a sweetheart deal? Why was it a sweetheart deal? While most convicted sex offenders in Florida are sent to state prison, Epstein was instead housed in a private wing of the Palm Beach County Stockade, and according to the sheriff's office, was, after 3.5 months, allowed to leave jail on a, quote, work release for up to 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. He was also allowed to come and go outside of specific release hours. Epstein's cell door was left unlocked, and he had access to the attorney room where a television was installed for him.
Oh my god, he had more leeway than the fucking warden would.
Yeah, he had more freedoms and luxury than any of us. And the work the work release that he got, like the work for his work release that he needed to do, it was a foundation that he had created shortly before reporting to jail, and when he was released, the foundation was dissolved.
Oh, so his foundation was probably like going to the spa or finding more girls to traffic.
Literally.
It was literally probably an illegal organization, and they just looked the other way for it.
Straight up. Oh, get ready. The sheriff's office received $128,000 from Epstein's nonprofit to pay for the cost of extra services being provided during his work release.
Mm.
His office was monitored by, quote, permit deputies whose overtime was paid by Epstein. They were required to wear suits and check in, quote, welcome guests at the, quote, front desk. Later, the sheriff's office said these guest logs were destroyed per the department's record retention rules. By the way, no other records destroyed, only these ones conveniently. Epstein was allowed to use his own driver to drive him between jail and his office and other appointments.
He wasn't even in jail.
No.
He was just like housed at like a semi-strict hotel.
Literally. And semi-strict, I don't even think. Hotels have harder restrictions because they have specific check-in times.
Yeah.
Literally. And so what if I was to say, in 2010, when things were publicly heating up with Epstein, someone internally with JP Morgan said, hey, are we gonna still be fucking with this Epstein guy since there are new additional child trafficking charges coming? Not only did they say, well, duh, that's our boy, the documents also show emails between Jess Stanley, the former top JP Morgan Chase executive, who left to become chief executive for Barclays, by the fucking way. It's not like he left because of what all came out. He just went to get a bigger, more powerful position.
Yeah.
So sent by Jess to Epstein from Little St. James Island, which again is the fucking pedophile island, Epstein Island. And these emails said, so remember, this is Jess to Epstein. This is JP Morgan exec to Epstein from pedophile island. Quote, so when all hell breaks loose and the world is crumbling, I will come here and be at peace. Presently, I'm in the hot tub with a glass of white wine. This is an amazing place. Next time, we're here together. I owe you much, and I deeply appreciate our friendship. I have few so profound. I realize the danger in sending this email, but it was great to be able, today, to give you, and in New York City, a long, heartfelt hug. And then in another email, Jess says, that was fun. Say hi to Snow White. Epstein replies, which character would you like next? And Jess says, Beauty and the Beast, which is obviously the codes they were using to talk about the underage girls that they were trafficking.
Fuck, yeah.
Between the two of them, they exchanged upwards of 1,200 emails.
Too many. That's more emails than I've sent ever.
Right. And now, what if I told you one of the main shareholders of Norfolk Southern, if you remember from above, is JP Morgan? What if I told you that?
Dude, a fucking course. Yeah, a fucking course. They're using them to hide their shit that's coming to light.
Exactly. I think from the Jeffrey Epstein sweetheart deal, we can all agree how powerful people, and not necessarily people, money can be, right?
Yeah.
When you have dirt on someone, or you have more money than you know what to do with, at his height, Jeffrey Epstein was a billionaire, they will always find ways to appease the public, like convicting him, but work around it so he's basically free.
Yeah.
Now let's all unwrap our tinfoil, because from this point on, we're talking theory. Everything previous to this is just matter of fact. Okay? Are we ready? Everything I just said from above, that's all facts, 100% factual. Now we're going to get on our pale white horse, and we're going to unravel our tinfoil.
Okay. I'm ready. I've never been more ready.
Let's say that the train derailments were a distraction from the JP Morgan connections to Epstein.
Okay. That's still not a conspiracy. I feel like that's 100%.
Yeah.
That's 100%.
We can say that. Okay. But what better conspiracy than a conspiracy within a conspiracy? Because what the fuck do the UFOs have to do with all of this?
Yeah. Why not? Why aren't the train derailments enough if the train derailments are a thing? So the train derailments were set up to distract us from Epstein. Does that mean the UFOs were set up to distract us from the train derailments that were set up to distract us from Epstein? This is take? Okay.
This is a 3-tiered conspiracy because who is Jeffrey Epstein and JP Morgan a part of?
The Illuminati.
Period, baby.
Yeah.
The billionaire elites who we can ultimately say are the Illuminati at this point.
Yeah.
And that's where I bring you to Project Bluebeam.
I didn't think that we would be talking Project Bluebeam and Epstein in the same episode ever. I'm gooped.
It is what it is, baby.
Goodness.
How could you not be? How it is right there in front of you. The evidence is in front of you.
Oh my god.
Okay?
It's been there the whole time.
If there's one thing we should all agree on at this point, it's that the government are puppeted by the elites, right?
100%. And elites, just people with money.
People with money, yeah. And I want people to really understand when we say money, okay? We all agree. So when people say, quote, well, our government is too big of a bumbling idiot to pull this off, yeah, I also agree.
Biden's not doing anything.
No.
Of this tier.
That's the fucking tea. That's the tea. When you're talking about billionaire elites, I really need you to crack open your mind and think about it. They do not function in the same realm of reality as you and I. They do not live the same, think the same, and the rules do not apply to them. Period. I'm not even going to say the same because they do not apply to them if they don't want them to. Period. And I really fucking mean that. Again, look at Epstein's sweetheart deal. How the fuck is that not like plastered all over everyone's newspaper and TV screen until there were riots in the fucking streets?
Yeah.
Okay? There are 3 men in America who hold more wealth than the bottom 50% of the country combined. Or maybe, in different wording of the same stat, the bottom half of American families hold just 2% of the country's wealth, while the top 1% of families have a third. There are 331.9 million people in this country and counting. Do these numbers make sense to you? When you think about your little daily life, your little daily rules, your little jobs, your little laws, your family, work, whatever, you are fundamentally not even in the same galaxy as these people.
Yeah. It would cost them more money to spit on us than it does to just never consider us ever.
They make more money in a day than most people will make in their lifetimes.
Yeah. It's insane.
I really need people to understand that by definition of being a billionaire, they are corrupt. Mm-hmm. Whether they have done corrupt things to get to that money by exploiting people, because there is no such thing as an ethical billionaire. You did have to exploit people and step on necks to get that type of money, period. I don't care what you say. I don't care if you think that your CEO is a philanthropist. Elon Musk also thinks he is one too, so get fucked, you goddamn losers. But like by having that much money, they have completely lost touch with humanity. And I feel like whenever people think about billionaires, when they think about like Jimmy Buffett, when they think about Jeff Bezos, if they're like sucking them off, they think of them as like these big brain, bright entrepreneurs who just were like right place, right time, and lucked their way into being the most wealthy people ever in history ever.
They red-pilled their way to the top.
Yeah, it is not, and people almost feel like they want to relate to them, because one of my favorite quotes is like, every working class middle American just thinks that they're a temporarily embarrassed millionaire, and like that's the tea.
Yeah.
But that's delusion, because these people have absolutely nothing in common with you anymore. Even if they did come from humble beginnings, they are not that, and they can never go back.
Oh, they sold their soul at the crossroads, man.
Straight up. So, when I say that this theory, simply put, is the elites of the world coming together to stage a fake alien invasion, which would bring the world's governments together fighting one common enemy, the aliens, which will end in defeat of the enemy, defeating the aliens, and the unification of a one-world government. Do you see how it even feels and sounds not so far-fetched?
Yeah.
Can we agree?
Yeah.
And I used to be like, why does it matter about a one-world government? Like, what does that matter? Well, it sure makes not having to have offshore bank accounts to hide your wealth. Like, you don't got to do that anymore.
Yeah.
If you could so easily take over the entire United States and basically turn it into an oligarchy in which you own a piece of every single pie and control it and make money off of it, then why wouldn't you want to just take a piece of the whole pie?
Yeah, all it does is increase money. You don't have to deal with NAFTA. You don't have to deal with sanctions put on by the UN. You can just fucking rake it all in with no one to stop you.
Yeah, you have it all. I never understood a one world government until I looked at it through the lens of billionaires trying to become even more rich and powerful. And then it made all the sense in the world. So I will say that the original Project Bluebeam theory is much more complicated and elaborate than that simple, like, all of the world's rich billionaire elite are going to come together and stage a fake alien invasion to get the entire world to be like, now we got to join forces and take down the fucking aliens. And then we do. And then everyone's like, yay, we're so much better together.
This isn't Independence Day.
Yeah, that's literally what they want. So when the theory originated back in
not to be confused with Project Blue Book, by the way. Project Blue Book was strictly investigations of UFOs.
Yeah, this is Beam, and you'll understand why Beam comes together. So when it originated, we obviously weren't so comfortable with AI and like holograms and stuff and lasers. We just weren't that comfortable with it. It was still really sci-fi. So the alien thing is kind of like a reworking. So anyway, let's talk about it. Project Bluebeam came about in the 80s and 90s because NASA, remember, government-run organization, and
never a straight answer.
Never a straight answer. And who owns the government other than the rich elites? Have been planning to start a new world order via a technology-simulated second coming using holograms.
Yeah.
The allegations were first theorized in 1994 by journalist Serge Monistat and later published in his book Project Bluebeam, in parentheses, NASA, just so you know who's doing it. Monistat said he was being hunted by the police and authorities for involvement in his, quote, networks of prohibited information. He took his kids out of public school and homeschooled them. Like, he was for real. Like, I'm running from something.
Yeah.
He died of a heart attack in his home in December of 1996 at age 51.
CIA heart attack gun. Not a conspiracy.
Up, the day after being arrested and spending a night in jail.
Yeah. That's really interesting. So yeah, as I understand it, Project Blue Book, UFO research. Project Bluebeam, faking global crisis to enact a one world government.
Yes.
That's the difference. And that's fucking scary, dude, because now we're seeing it.
I know it. I know it.
Are we being fucking... I don't want to say red pill. Are we being fucking fuchsia pilled right now?
I think we are being a little fuchsia pilled. It's tough, dude. When there's nothing but all of it around, it's tough.
Fucking scary.
I mean, I will, before I say this next bit, side tangent, kind of related, like talking about like technology, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to totally be fudging the numbers, but there was someone talking about like how powerful chat GDP is.
Uh-huh.
Or GTP, whatever it's called. And they were like, I don't think like everyone fully understands like how powerful it is. Like, and it went into like, you can even make it right, renegotiating terms of your lease with your landlord, and you can make it write a cover letter, blah, 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 blah. It does like all this shit right perfectly.
You can link your LinkedIn to it and be like, write a resume for me. Easy peasy. Yeah.
It does like,
smart.
It does anything and everything, right? But it's not even talking about that. It was talking about like the power of unification. It was saying something like it took Netflix X amount of years to get to like a billion users. It took YouTube to get to like X amount of years to get to a billion viewers, subscribers, whatever. It took Chat GDP like less than 5 days to get like it just beat records. Just, and you have to get these stats because to use it you have to sign up for it. So like it's a whole thing. So anyway, talking about just like the power of AI, and that's not talking, yes, it's talking about how powerful like the AI chatbot is, but also how powerful the want and need and use for AI is, that it's almost unanimously united us to use it. So, and then of course, what is the goal of the one world government other than making us all reliant on one thing? Anyway, back to. In the early 1990s, Mondstadt spoke to the French TV host Richard Glenn on Astronomie expérimentale. There you go. You like that?
Yeah, you said it so that doesn't look right. Esoterisme? Don't make them
experimental
esoterism.
It's experimental esoterism, but let's make it sound fancier than that.
Yeah.
And he explained his theory, Project Bluebeam. The below summary is taken from a Redditor, Cantonia, who watched this interview in French and basically gave us the TDLR. In it, he explains how events that were happening at the time, particularly films, which again, we've talked about this before we even talked about it on the Mariana Trench episode, how James Cameron probably is telling us what he actually saw when looking for the Titanic. They're also kind of saying films like Space Odyssey, Star Wars, Star Trek are being used to prepare people psychologically for the conspiracy's dramatic conclusion, which is an alien invasion or like a fake alien invasion, right?
Yeah.
Get us comfy with it, comfy cozy. Purposeful disinformation. It originally played on fears of alleged advanced technology that most people at the time, including its author, did not understand, although now, 30 years later in 2023, we can all fully comprehend. We can all fully comprehend AI. We can all fully comprehend holograms. We know it exists. It's not just sci-fi. So, Beyond a Pale Horse, Bill Cooper's book from 1991, has recently been considered to be a prophecy regarding Project Bluebeam to be used in the future as a reference to PBB and its buildup. Do you want to read this quote from the book? You want to be Bill Cooper?
I would like to be Bill Cooper, thank you. So, it is true that without the population or the bomb problem, the elect would use some other excuse to bring about the New World Order. They have plans to bring about things like earthquakes, war, the Messiah, an extraterrestrial landing, and economic collapse. They might bring about all of these things just to make damn sure it does work. They will do whatever is necessary to succeed. The Illuminati has all bases covered, and you are going to have to be on your toes to make it through the coming years. Can you imagine what will happen if Los Angeles is hit with a 9.0 earthquake, New York City is destroyed by a terrorist-planted atomic bomb, people now think that this was 9/11, World War III breaks out in the Middle East, Western invasion, the banks and stock markets collapse, extraterrestrials land on the White House lawn, Project Bluebeam, food disappears from the markets, now thinking COVID, some people disappear, the Messiah himself presents himself to the world, Project Bluebeam, and all in a very short period of time. Can you imagine? The world power structure can and will, if necessary, make some or all of those things happen to bring about the New World Order.
There you go.
Oh my god, it's fucking happening. It's happening.
These steps that I'm going to go over below are the steps broken down of Project Bluebeam. I'm summarizing them from the conspiracy theory thread that goes over all of it because it's a lot. So, authored by the same Redditor, Cantona. Step 1. Step 1 requires the breakdown of archaeological knowledge. This will apparently be accomplished by faking earthquakes at precise locations around the planet.
Which we
As
can
you all-
do. Project HARP can fake earthquakes. Yes.
Straight up. As you all know, multiple earthquakes ranging from 6.0 to 7.5 hit Turkey and Syria on February 6th. Just so happened to be the same time that all this other shit was happening. It collapsed entire cities and buildings. The death toll is now estimated to around 42,310 people. And just to be a numbers guy, 2,996 people died in 9/11. So from this earthquake alone, that's like 14 9/11s.
It's crazy.
Just saying. And I mean 9/11s, like buildings, skyscrapers crumbled to the ground.
Yeah. And PTSD ground zero for all those people now.
Yeah. Just demolished. And
we still feel repercussions from 9/11 when we go into airports. You know what I mean? Like that's going to change Turkey forever and Syria forever.
well, and I mean, even worse than that, they don't have the same rescue materials that we do.
Yeah.
They don't have like the jaws of life, if you will.
Yeah.
So for days, people just heard people screaming and crying, trapped underneath the rubble, and it was freezing as well. It was freezing into the night. So they just got to hear the screams and cries of people dying under the rubble. They couldn't get them out from. So horrific. Just a little reminder. This is very problematic. A little bit, anti-American, if you will. 9/11 was a horrific tragedy. We have made it the entire personality and backbone of this country since it happened. When every day in other countries, there are bigger and more catastrophic and cataclysmic events, much like this, and we don't even give a fuck about.
Right.
14 9/11s happened in one fucking day in one fucking country, in one fucking city specifically. And we're just like, oh, are you guys okay? Do you want us to send a Red Cross? Go fuck yourself. I can't handle it. But again, it's just like that American entitlism. Like a thing happens to us and we're like, oh my God, the world is attacking us. I get that this was like a natural disaster, not like a terrorist attack, but still, 42,000 people versus 2,000. Like, come on.
For real. It requires world intervention. I want to say intervention, but assistance.
Yeah.
How fucking terrible.
Yeah. So, anyway, these earthquakes. So, this is back to talking about the step 1 of Project Blue Book. These
beam.
Yeah, I mean beam. Pardon.
Yeah.
These earthquakes that were purposely set off will eventually present new information which will make us question our current belief systems in regards to religion.
Oh my God, the fucking Smithsonian's going to bring out the giants that they've been housing in their basement all these years. I just know it.
I actually love this one because there is always that philosophical question, right? Like if there was actual proof of extraterrestrial life, like an actual alien came down here and was like, God isn't real. Like, what would that do, to all of, Christianity and any sort of God-based faith? What if an alien came down here and was like, actually, me and my friend Joe on our lunch break made humanity, and we've just been watching you guys our version of the Kardashians. What would that do to Christianity?
People would double down on it and just be like, it's Satan from above. But yeah, it would be very complicated. It would be very fucking complicated.
So I think that's what they mean here when they say earthquakes will present new information which will make us question our current belief system in regards to religion.
Yeah.
Step 2. Airspace holograms will start off as subtle UFOs, but will eventually appear to the people as their god. Yes. What do you think about this?
My mind immediately goes back to the Antarctica theory of why we're not allowed to Antarctica is because you can see celestial beings at the edge. So now I'm trying to reconcile two schools of thought where the elite don't want us to be united as one people, but that would be united under one religion, which is different than a government.
Mm-hmm.
I
mean, you could even flip it.
Where I'm like, which is real? The fact that God is in Antarctica, or the fact that my government's going to try to lie to me about it? It's just two different theories that I'm trying to reconcile within my head, and
they can almost be the same. They could almost be the same if you think about like the reason why they're not letting you go to Antarctica isn't because they're actual celestial beings. It's because they're testing the holograms that they're going to be projecting everyone's different god and deity in. So they don't want you to see that.
Probably.
Because that's
Admiral Byrd.
Because that's what this is. That's what this is. So, the original Project Bluebeam says that rather than aliens, it will be an antichrist-like being created by the government. I personally like the New Age alien one, but here's how the God thing would go down. A large-scale hologram would show a three-dimensional holographic laser projections, and they would be beamed all over the planet. The projections will take the shape of whatever deity is most predominant in wherever it's like location-based, and it will speak in that main language. So like Jesus in the US, Allah in the Middle East, etc.
Yeah.
At the end of this show, the gods will all merge into one god and become the Antichrist. This will be the start of the New Age religion. How do you feel about that?
This one's complicated, because this is very biblical in the sense that there are like a lot, like King Nebuchadnezzar, for example, had the end of the world dream that essentially is where we kind of get the idea that the New World Order, one government. So it's interesting to see this play off of biblical thought. We just entered the holy season of Lent yesterday, and I'm like, don't pick on Jesus, bro. Don't pick on Allah or Buddha either. You know what I mean? But it's scary, because I do think that in desperate times, people will cling to religion as a crutch in which to blame their problems. And I think that why not now? Like, why not attempt something like this now, especially after like COVID, you know?
Yeah.
I could see it being a thing, especially because maybe the different deity sightings that have happened in the past have all just been like kind of soft tests of the technology for this, to see how people would react. It's the same with like kind of what you mentioned earlier, like with pop culture and media are just soft tests for what the public's willing to accept. So if aliens come down and they're problematic, is Will Smith punching them in the face something we would respond positively to? Yes. Okay. So now we've just indoctrinated people to be okay with warfare against alien species. It's all easy peasy, you know?
Well, I mean, even the that little thought bubble you had about this being very biblical, they do that on purpose.
Yeah.
The notion of gods being projected into the sky was actually proposed before in 1991 by conspiracy theorist Betty J. Mills and U.S. General, who was also a CIA operative, Edward Lansdale, who actually suggested a plan to fake a second coming over Cuba as a means to get rid of Castro.
And imagine if you don't understand the technology too. Like we understand holograms, but what if a hologram came down that actually could manipulate matter and move things? You know what I mean? That we haven't seen before. So how would we understand and interpret that? Like, it's easy to think how you would react, but we don't know what we don't know. And if something appears that we don't know, then there's no way for us to know what our reaction to the not knowing would be.
Yeah. And like back in the day when when PBB first came out, holograms were only written in sci-fi. Yeah. Holograms were only seen in like fucking Star Trek media like that. It was science fiction. And we have seen holograms in the works like every day. Like, yeah, we remember the Tupac hologram from Coachella in 2012, the Chinese hologram of the Flying City in September of 2015. The green beams in the UK. We had the Queen's hologram last year. And of course, the creepy hologram Kanye made for Kim's birthday of her dead dad speaking to her in current day, having a current conversation with her. That is tech we have now.
Yeah.
That was a fucking nightmarish hellscape sci-fi dream no more than 30 years ago.
And these are all just soft launches, you know what I mean? Like in Star Trek, do I believe that we had the technology to make them? Absolutely. Was it softly introduced to the public through pop culture? Very likely.
1,000%. Step 3.
Also, I'm just fucking Kanye needs to leave Kim alone. I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times.
I agree. Step 3. Telepathic, electronic, two-way communication. It involves making people think their God is speaking to them through telepathy, projected into the head of each person individually using radio waves. Again, this does sound sci-fi, but not when you think of Elon Musk's brain chip Neuralink. The quick TDLR on Neuralink. This is from their website specifically, and interviews about what they plan to do. I think it was created in 2015. Neuralink is building a brain chip interface that can be implanted within the skull that processes and transmits neural signals that could be transmitted to devices like a computer or a phone. The company hopes that a person would potentially be able to control a mouse, keyboard, or other computer functions like text messaging with their thoughts, and says it could even help disabled patients to move and communicate again, and also restore vision.
Have you ever seen those people who claim to be very sensitive to technology waves? Like anything that has electric power to it, it makes them physically ill, and they have to like live in dead zones. And there's one in France where like if people want to use a phone, they have to go miles outside of this like dead zone compound, and they only use like old school text cell phones.
I had no idea about this.
Oh my god, that could be a fucking episode. Yeah, it's a real thing. These people claim that electric signals make them physically ill. And some people are like, "Oh, that's not real. It's not real." But it would be interesting to see if that is a thing. And people, you know how like you could have telekinetic powers, and some people are just tapped into it. You know, what if these people are like the Jean Greys of frequency? And
they're like the first evolution. The first evolution of being able to sense like 5G or whatever.
Like maybe they've been doing this to us all along, and these people just happen to have evolved against it. There's also that strange tone that some people hear. I almost want to say it's in New Mexico, but I don't think that's right. But some people claim that they can hear a strange tone in this city where there are increased UFO sightings. Some people don't hear it, but some people are like fucking kill themselves because they can't handle it anymore.
Yeah.
So like it's a consistent tone, and people are like, "Oh, is it just your ears ringing?" And they're like, "I know what ear ringing sounds like. This is resonating from the center of my fucking brain." And they're miserable.
Crazy.
Yeah, wild, right?
Yeah, we'll have to look into that. So, yeah. Anyway, telepathic electronic two-way communication doesn't sound so sci-fi anymore. Step 4. It has 3 parts. Number 1, making humanity think an alien invasion is about to occur in every major city, which seems to have already started. Number 2, making the Christians think that the rapture is about to happen, which seems like it's already started.
Uneducated Christians, I would say.
I mean, yeah. There was even a family that just offed themselves like the other day. But anyway.
People, we won't get into it. That's actually really sad, and I feel like that only happens in religions where their religious leaders don't have to have any sort of formal education, or they prey on the people within their church to make them into mega churches, and fear is a really good way, and no hope for tomorrow is a really good way to separate people from their money.
Oh, 1,000%. And the final one, a mixture of electronic and supernatural forces, allowing the supernatural forces to travel through fiber optics, coax, power, and telephone lines to penetrate all the electronic equipment and appliances that will, by now, 2023, all have special microchips installed. 5G.
And it sounds funny when you say it like, oh, supernatural forces, but the CIA has documents of two people telepathically traveling to other planets, and that's in the CIA document. So we never know what shit we're fully capable of, and we don't know how far science has come. So supernatural could just be a different way for something to be wrapped up in a way that people would not accept it because supernatural sounds silly.
Yeah, it just means like we aren't used to it in the natural world.
Yeah,
right.
This is the only interviewing the meth addicts when an alien abduction happens. This is only sprinkling in flat Earth conspiracy when talking about other valid conspiracies like what's going on in Antarctica. It's another fucking false flag by just labeling it in a way that people wouldn't accept.
Yeah, no, 1,000%. And so this chaos will break out and people will finally be willing, perhaps even desperate, to accept the New World Order. The united government saying that, look at, we're the only ones who can save you now. We will defeat the aliens. We will defeat the Antichrist, whatever you want to call it. Project Bluebeam supporters believe psychological preparations have already been made, as previously mentioned in this whole entire thing. Mondstadt claimed that the films 2001: A Space Odyssey have specifically forewarned and told and or predicted. Think of the I'm sorry, Dave scene. I'm going to play it for you guys now. Keep in mind that Hal is the AI in the ship. I also recommend watching this because it is just truly one of the most incredible things in the world to know that this came out in 1968. Not only just like the dialogue and the script, but also how it was filmed. When we all joke and laugh about Stanley Kubrick helping film a fake moon landing, go watch 2001: A Space Odyssey. I can't even speak. Compare it to any other film that came out in 1968, and you tell me that we're crazy for fucking thinking that. Okay, here we go.
You read me, Hal? Hello, Hal, do you read me? Hello, Hal, do you read me? Do you read me, Hal?
Affirmative, Dave. I read you.
Open the pod bay doors, Hal.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
What's the problem?
I think you know what the problem is just as well as I do.
What are you talking about, Hal?
This mission is too important for me to allow you to jeopardize it.
I don't know what you're talking about, Hal.
I know that you and Frank were planning to disconnect me, and I'm afraid that's something I cannot allow to happen.
Where the hell did you get that idea, Hal?
Dave, although you took very thorough precautions in the pod against my hearing you, I could see your lips move.
There you go. So in that,
they gain sentience and then they fucking turn against us.
Exactly. So, how do we feel? How do we feel about Project Bluebeam?
Yeah, good to go back to the biblical route and biblical conspiracy. This is where we get the idea that the Tower of Babel was actually a weapon of mass destruction because something like this already happened in history. This again is the conspiracy hat where we've already fucking tried this and other civilizations have tried this. That's where we get Lemuria, that's where we get Atlantis, and now we're just going to be the next Atlantis, right? Who knows what we'll be called for the next generations that are digging us up. But I feel like this is just another Icarus symptom of where we're just getting too close to the fucking sun.
Yeah, I do think that is a fun way to look at it. That this is just the natural conclusion of humanity. that no matter what, for as long as some sort of version of sentient beings have existed, there comes a point of a few people collecting too much power, whatever power may look like in that iteration of humanity. There's always it's almost like within human nature,
Right.
for greed and kind of like the cutthroat nature of getting to that, like, never feeling fully satiated,
Yeah.
ends in the destruction of whatever that sentient being is at the time.
There's comfort in thinking we could start over. That's the conspiracy hat side of it. If I want to take off the conspiracy hat, that's so hard for me because I actually exist in the conspiracy world so much more. The non-conspiracy side of me would say this is just incompetence that we're trying to spin to hide the inadequacies of people who make more money than us and don't deserve it. I don't think it's as simple as that, though, because they're utilizing fucking aliens, man. If it was just the train, or if it was just Jeffrey Epstein, but now the UFO spin on it, that's fucking weird.
Yeah. And I mean, I think like everyone wants to like dismiss conspiracy theories like this, like for silly fun and games, and I think maybe sometimes we should. Honestly, a majority of the time we should. But knowing for fact that, especially in this country, there is a billionaire man who is the reason why like someone with diabetes is going to die. Like, because he owns the pharmaceutical company or stock in the pharmaceutical company, and even though he has more money than has ever even existed in humanity, he's going to increase the price of it on purpose for his own gain, even though like it could be paid fully at cost for,
and they'd still be rich
of the price,
Yeah.
Like, people try to put all this to say, people try to put their own moral compass and standards and thought processes on the elites in society, not just in this country, but in the entire world. And they maybe even subconsciously, look at the actions that happen around the world to them in whatever governments they're living in, and they see it through their lens, and so it doesn't make sense to them, or they're oblivious to it, or they're in denial of it. But that's because you're looking at it through your lens.
Yeah.
That's why I go back to like my whole rant above. Like, these people are on a fundamentally different universe than you are.
Yeah.
They do not see things the way that you do. So to think that like we're two bumbling idiots, we would never be able to pull something. Yeah, you. Yeah,
because we don't have the means.
Yeah. You and the fucking Crypt Keeper puppet president we have. Yeah, we're not going to be able to do anything. But we're not the ones that they're talking about here.
Yeah.
When we say elites, I don't mean government. I mean the opposite of government.
Yeah.
I mean the people who force dollar bills in the pockets of government officials to make them fucking jump how high they want them to. That's who I fucking mean.
Yeah.
It's the people whose
tier
names
above.
you don't know.
It's the people whose jets went flying out of Ukraine and Russia before the war happened.
Exactly.
It's those types of elites where they are even more important than wars that affect nations. They are aware and informed about them in advance, and they do nothing to help. They just fucking leave.
Yeah.
And disappear.
Exactly. Like, the joke is, if we don't destroy ourselves first, and like the elites will just leave the earth because they know that it is a unrepairable mess of a garbage fire that will
No, dude,
implode
they'll
on
go to
itself.
Admiral Byrd's extra island, or the Admiral Byrd landmass. They're going to take everything they can from it and move to a new.
But that's the thing, right? That's the joke. They're leaving.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't give a shit.
when Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos joke around and say that they're not even joke around, say that they're going to inhabit Mars. There are astronauts right now training for it.
Yeah.
It is not sci-fi to them because they have the money and the means to build a fucking colony on Mars. That is the difference between you and I and them and us. We can only see the problems on this world. This
Yeah.
world is a stepping stone for them. So
Yeah.
please fucking remember that.
The training
Please remember
wheels
that.
for higher
Yeah.
society.
Literally. So there's that.
Depressing.
And I will end with a little interview with none other than Bill Cooper, who didn't even know, obviously, died before Project Bluebeam could become a conspiracy theory, become written about by journalists. But obviously, our frenemy, honestly, because he is both a friend of the show by being a resource that we use, and then also an enemy because he's fucking horrible.
Not someone to look up to.
Fucking horrible. He did essentially say all of this before it had a name to it. So here's that.
What do you think about aliens?
I don't think there are any. At one time, I thought that there were, simply based upon documents that I'd seen while I was attached to the intelligence briefing team, the commander-in-chief of the Pacific Fleet. At that time, and even for many years afterwards, I did not believe that the government would use me in that way. I had devoted my whole life to government service. I had been in the Air Force. I was in the Navy. I was a river patrol boat captain in Vietnam. I had proved myself. I had combat ribbons with the V for Valor. There was no doubt of my loyalty to my country. And maybe that's why it was so easy to use me, because I wouldn't doubt that what I saw was real. But over the years, I've done a lot of research. And what I've discovered is there's no proof existing anywhere that extraterrestrials are real, or that have ever visited this planet, or that they exist anywhere in the universe. There is not one shred of evidence anywhere. There is lots of evidence, tons of it in fact, that there are a group of people collectively known as the Illuminati who want us to believe in some extraterrestrial threat from space so that they can cause a world government, bringing together of all the people to resist that external threat.
There he is, baby.
Called it out.
Billy Cooper out here calling it like it is. And he is saying that he himself acted as the U.S. government, U.S. military's crackhead in front of a camera outside of a crop circle.
Mm-hmm.
That he's saying there was purposeful disinformation put out to people in the military to be like, hey, you guys, what's this in the sky? But that is all he's saying, purposefully done so that the mass majority will soon believe in UFOs and UFO sightings, because high-ranking people within the military and government will say that they've experienced things that they cannot understand and see, but that is all purposely put in front of them by the military to get everyone swallowing the pill, if you will.
Good thing I can't swallow pills. Gotta chew them first.
So yeah, there it is, baby. There it is. And just to summarize, if people feel like, what the fuck?
Went off the rails there a little bit.
Well, let me explain the rails in which they derailed quickly in a TLDR. Why rich people will kill and do whatever they need to get away, get off, get free, right? That's where the JP Morgan train derailments come in. And you say, why? What does that have to do with anything? Well, because Epstein and the executives at JP Morgan are a part of the quote-unquote elites, quote-unquote billionaire elites, quote-unquote Illuminati, whatever you want to call them, right? Mm-hmm. Whatever helps you sleep at night. Mm-hmm. And so they stage this derailment, which they have said that the crew wasn't involved with it, but it was a 100% preventable accident. So it does seem like someone did something on purpose to make the train derail, to take the heat off of the emails, because the JP Morgan emails would be the black book, right? It would be naming more elites, more specific dates and locations, and more evidence. So if you make that happen, the heat's off you, right? And then what do you do about that? You hide that with the UFOs that are government placed. And you go, why? Because then everyone's too focused on those two conspiracies. They're either believing in the UFOs wholeheartedly with their entire chest, or they're looking at the UFOs and going, well, why aren't we talking about this train derailment? Both of those being purposefully placed pieces of propaganda to get you away from the fact that the elites are controlling everything. They will make man-made disasters. They will kill innocent people to make sure that they're okay.
They're getting good, but we're staying better.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, can't fool. Maybe fooled me. I wasn't ever buying into the aliens, but I didn't realize that the train derailment was a fucking flag in its own right to get me to not focus on Epstein. That one got me. They got me with that one.
It was, it's interesting, right? And like, I think people forget, they're like, why does fucking Epstein matter? Because Epstein is the first tangible connection to all, essentially, if we want to just like say it out loud, like who the Illuminati are, right?
Yeah.
Like that's the T. Like the black book of Jeffrey Epstein.
That's how fucking rich the Illuminati are. Jeffrey Epstein worked for those fucking people.
He was the secretary.
Yeah.
Essentially. He was the nobody.
Executive assistant. He ran the errands.
He picked up the coffee.
Yeah.
For everyone else.
Yep.
So, that's basically that on that.
That's crazy. You kind of ruined my day a little bit.
I'm so sorry. How do you think I feel? Like,
you went down a rabbit hole for sure.
How do you think I feel? Because like, this is the thing is like, the corruption of billionaires has just always been on my mind, and it always makes me crazy to see how people, everyday people, poor people, worship at the altars of billionaires. And I'm like, they are the chains that hold you down, brother. And and so it frustrates me because I see that every day, right?
Yeah.
And so if you're too busy like worshiping them, you will never see like the sleight of hand magic they're like pulling in front of you. And so like, while some of these conspiracy theories feel like so far-fetched and crazy, I'm also like, we are just like the statistics of like 1% holds everything.
Yeah.
That like also is like emotional competence as well, and like mental competence. Like, we're too busy being like, I love Elon Musk and NASCAR to even realize that they're pulling a fast one on us. Do you know what I mean?
It's being hold on. I nailed my spit a little bit.
Yeah, cough it out. Choke it out. There you go.
It's like in Star Wars when Leia chokes out Jabba and he dies and everybody's like, hell yeah, we've won the war. Meanwhile, not even realizing that the Empire and the fucking Emperor were pulling the strings the whole time.
Yeah,
she's not getting her hands on him.
Yeah. No, it's true. So that's why it freaks me out, because like, we're so stupid. We allow peace and love, peace and love, peace and love, peace and love. We are so stupid and powerless that we allow our own government to create our own societal collapse. We are so stupid and powerless that we allow our government to create inflation and housing crisis and just in misery. We allow it. We do. It's man-made. It's just like traffic. Like when you think about traffic and you go, this is happening because everyone is rubbernecking at the same point. If we all just agreed to not do it, we would never be in traffic ever again.
Never happen.
It's like that.
It'll never happen because the accident we're all looking at are fucking UFOs.
I know it. So it makes me upset as well in a different way than you, but I'm still upset.
Yeah.
I'm upset because I know it's so possible.
Yes. And now, like, the part that makes it more scary is, like, anytime you, like, tie religion into something, it makes it a little bit more scary, right? Because people do crazy things for religion, and that just, weren't the aliens enough?
They never were.
Never enough. Never fucking enough.
Speaking of religion, doesn't bother me personally, but I do see that is society's kryptonite. Mm-hmm. If you want to pull a fast one on them, you got to get in there. Maybe the cure has always been atheism. Who knows? But speaking of religion, I know, be atheist and save yourself.
Oh my God, no! The UFOs are just the Jesus for atheists, man.
Ah, you're so right. It doesn't matter which way you spin it. It is what it is. Because it would prove. Oh my God, it's incredible. Anyway, I also love. I like my mythical creatures, and my favorite one always gets a little hail from me. So that's a little hail Satan to you.
I'm gonna say hail Nicolas Cage's Superman because he's looking at me from my water bottle. I know you have this on your phone, but
I do.
I use it for my hydration. I look at his sweet little man candy.
I have to look at it every day. It fuels me.
Yeah.
The most beautiful thing that never was, that should have been.
Yeah.
And speaking of things that should have been, you shoulda, coulda, and I'm not even going to say woulda because you still can. You can go into the link tree in any of our bios, and in there you can find a link to our Patreon. $1 gets you in, new episodes every week. You can also find a link to our merch. 100% of the proceeds are always donated. We also have the Fun Furby merch up there, so check that out. Speaking of Furbies and who created them, Kelly Halloran, or at Wildwood Owl on Etsy. She makes all of our cool stickers, and I think there's some pins and maybe a bandana. Just go check that shit out too. And also the art that she makes on her own. It's incredible. We also have links to our Discord, Facebook group, and I don't know why you need it, but it's there. Links to listen to us. Is that it?
I think you got all of it, yeah. You gotta hail out, though.
I already did hail out. I did hail Satan. This is how Chelsea's really affected right now by this.
I started looking up pictures of Nicolas Cage as Superman, so you fucking caught me. That's it. You're right, because I said hail Nicolas Cage as Superman is my answer, so we should get the fuck out of here.
Have you watched, wait, before we go, have you watched the Nicolas Cage movie where he plays himself?
Yes. I own it. And then all the stuff that's been coming out on TikTok, I've never been more happy.
Yeah, it's a new meme format. I need to watch it. I haven't watched it yet, so that's what I'll try to do.
Yeah, it's fucking good.
Okay, let's all watch that. Okay, bye.
Bye.